Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life is celebrating its 30th year of ministry this year, 30 years of transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. New Life Live is dedicated to helping you in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Okay, well, Steve is not here today. This is Larry Sonnenburg. I'm sitting in for Steve, and I'm in a doctor sandwich. I've got Dr. Dave Stoop to my left.
Well, you're kind of the meat.
Or the PB&J.
PB&J, that's right. Dr. Joe Hubbard on the right.
Yes, we're sticking with you, Larry.
Thank you, guys. This will be a good program. We've got some calls waiting, but before we go to the calls, wanted to talk about our Life Recovery Conference that's coming up just next Friday and Saturday at Fairfax Community Church. We're going to do two things. The Life Recovery Conference, that'll be in the afternoon on Friday, and then the morning on Saturday, and then the evening of Friday, we're going to celebrate 30 years of New Life. And,
Can't believe it. 30 years.
Yeah. You guys have been around for much of that 30 years.
Yeah.
We have, Dave, haven't we?
Yeah.
Sure have.
So is there any memory that stands out? Anything special about it? Any funny, sad, happy? What comes to mind when you think 30 years of New Life?
I was with the competitor with
That's
Minute
true, you
Clinic
were.
West, and with John and Henry, and the larger entity in Washington, D.C. got into trouble financially and allowed Steve to take over the ministry of Minute Meyer and took my share, which gave him control.
Okay.
Because he had Paul and Frank's share. And so I was merged into, so I'm not there 30 years, I'm there maybe 28 years.
Wow.
20,
Well,
yeah.
I actually have
You
been
were
there since
30
the beginning, you
Yeah.
know, when Steve
You're
had...
older than
You're
me.
not old enough.
I know, I was just a baby.
Wow.
But Steve had his vision of implementing Christian programs into existing psychiatric treatment centers in hospitals. So we started out in hospitals, and it just evolved from there. So many changes, but just to be able to have a Christian program for people to go to and to get the help they needed. And that was back when, you know, everything was inpatient, right?
Yeah.
So people were able to come and they were able to stay for long periods of time. And oh my gosh, it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Saw some life-changing events
Yeah.
for people because you had the time to work
You
through
did.
the issues.
You did. Yeah.
And they changed the insurance, and
things-
that's
Right,
all
and
went
so,
away.
you know, Steve is very innovative and has changed along with the industry, right?
Yeah.
That's why
well,
we do our intensives.
Exactly.
So in the middle of that...
So I don't know if that's funny, but it is
No,
part
that's
of the history.
yeah,
right?
that's what I wanted to hear. It's
Yeah.
part of the history. So we're the 30th anniversary celebration that Friday night on the 18th, 7 to 9 p.m. It's at the same church, same venue, the Fairfax Community Church in Fairfax, Virginia. Real quickly, what do you? Who should come to that, Dave? Why come to a Life Recovery Conference?
Anybody that listens to the program should come
There you
because
go.
we personalize the evening. We answer questions. Do we tape a radio program?
No, I don't think so.
Not
at
this
point.
time. Sometimes
No.
we do, but this time we're just going to answer questions. You get to meet different people.
You and Steve and Chris from the
William,
program
yeah.
will be there. Yeah.
And, it's
And
just
Chris
great to.
Buckingham
Chris
is
Buckingham.
wonderful.
She
Yeah.
is.
She is
She's been
wonderful.
around a long time.
Yeah,
She's one of our-
she has.
She's
Yeah.
one of our counselors
Mhm.
in the intensives and lives in that area.
She has a big practice of her own,
Yes.
and she is a brilliant,
Runs a
sweet,
center.
smart lady. Yeah.
But that's in the conference, and
Right.
the celebration will be. It's just so it's nice to connect with people who listen on the radio to know that somebody actually listens.
So go online.
It's a party.
You can go online and register for the conference. Call us.
Is there gonna be
and you can
cake?
do that too. I'm not going there. We'll be back right after this.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Okay, welcome back. Just want to remind you, when you call this month and you make a donation in any amount, we can say thank you by sending the book Making Peace with Your Father by Dr. Dave Stoop.
And they recovered that, and it's got a beautiful cover on it now to match the beautiful inside.
Oh, yes.
Well, it's a really good book, and anybody that's had some father challenges in life, which many of us have, it's worth the read for sure. Well, we want to go to the phones. We've had some folks holding. We want to get through these calls. And so let's talk to Lisa. Nashville, Tennessee, listens on Sirius XM. Hello, Lisa. Thank you for holding. I think. Lisa, are you there? Okay, we're going to...
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yay,
all
Lisa.
right. We're
Just in the nick of time. It's okay.
Yes, thank you for taking my call, and I absolutely love your program. I listen to it as often as I possibly can. I'm going to try to condense this because this spans over several years, but it's ended in a very odd way, and I want to make sure from a biblical perspective that I've done all that I can, and that there's nothing else to do. So I'm going to try to condense it, but there's a lot of stuff in between that really I guess I'm just going to have to leave out. When I was very young, my parents divorced. So at the age of 7, they divorced, and soon after that, my mother was completely out of my life. Dad got custody of me through a long, hard battle, and this was 50 years ago. And that was a little unheard of back then. But,
yes.
Wow.
But it was done, and because of him getting custody of me, my mom couldn't handle that, so she became a lifetime alcoholic and just disappeared off the face of the earth out of my life for many, many, many years. In the interim, Dad remarried when I was 9. She came with children of her own, so I had a brother and a sister right off the bat. I was the oldest. I was 9. And pretty much a Cinderella story. I was not hers, and so, all of the chores around the house I got, that sort of thing. And
no fairy
there was an
godmother
obvious
came.
difference. Yeah. It was very, to the outside world, it was wonderful. My dad wanted to climb the ladder of success, and he did. He was successful as a business owner, and we were, members of the country club and all of that sort of thing. But inside of our home, it was a little bit of a different scenario for me anyway, being the only child of my dad and her making it very obvious that I wasn't hers. So over the years, when I was 14, they went to a lot of social events, a lot of social parties, and at those parties, Dad tended to drink heavily. He liked to party, and so one night they came home, and all of our rooms were upstairs. They were downstairs, and I heard steps coming up the steps, and I was already in bed, and my door opens, and he comes in and climbs into bed with me, and immediately I said, "Where's Mom?" And he said, "Oh, we got into an argument, and I dropped her off and left her, but we can do just fine without her." And he proceeded to touch me and kiss me and things like that, and I jumped out of the bed, and I yelled at him to get out of my room. And at first he didn't, and then I screamed it again and pointed to the door, and I said, "You need to get out now." And he left.
And how old were you?
As far as it
14.
14? Okay.
I was 14. So I didn't understand at that time all the ramifications of what that would do to my life, but it obviously impacted me in quite a way because he crossed the line he should have never crossed. Fast forward through many failed marriages on my part, and not having any connection at all with my mother until much later in life, 3 years prior to her death. She had received the Lord and connected with me, and we were able to have a relationship again and forgiveness. And I've always been known as the peacekeeper in the family because I was always trying to keep peace with everybody. I had didn't feel like I had anywhere else to go or anybody else to turn to.
So, Lisa, what's your
So-
question?
Well, when that happened at 14, I wrote it down in my diary. My stepmother found the diary. She read it. And then I got called downstairs and questioned in front of her with my dad. And he said, you need to tell her this didn't happen. And she was not looking at his face toward me, and I didn't say anything. And then he said again, you need to tell her this didn't happen. And so I said it did not happen for him. And so fast forward 50 years later, that never came up again. And then last fall, she was visiting family, my sister and her husband, and my sister called and said, hey, just want to let you know that Mom said that you came on to Dad when you were younger. And it just ripped a Band-Aid completely off on me.
Wow.
And this was just recent. So I just fell apart, didn't know how to deal with that. And my pastor's wife, who I called, said, you need to walk out. And I want to, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I can't remember the exact scripture, but it's the one that says if you have any offense with anyone, you take it to them in private first. So I made a trip home, spent the weekend with her, and on the day I was leaving, sat down and said, I need to understand why you would say something like that to family, my sister. And she said, because, well, that's what your dad told me. And I said, I don't understand. And she said, well, I was home, and he came downstairs and said, you're not going to believe what she just did. And I was going to be strong and handle it accordingly. Well, I broke. I guess 50 years of just holding that, or 42 of holding all that in, I broke. But as through my tears, I shared with her that is not what happened, and I told her exactly what happened. Would never have said anything. Dad died 2 years ago, so for this to be coming up now just seemed odd. And so I told her exactly what did happen, and I left after that, shortly after that. She hugged me through my tears as I was crying, and I said, I'm sorry, but, you know, you can now maybe look at my life, and perhaps this had to do with how things started for me, but
Okay,
I know
Lisa,
where I
we
am
still need
today.
we need a question from you. What's your question for
So
Jill and Dave?
so my question is, she called a family meeting, and they have all completely decided I'm not in the family anymore.
Wait, after she hugged you and thanked you for telling her, right? Then
She
she,
sent me a text message, and she said, I don't believe, I've called the family together, told everybody what you said. We don't believe anything you said about your dad. He loved you very much, blah, 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 blah. And so I hope you have a good life.
Wow.
And so I've pretty much been written completely out of the family that I've had for all my life. So I have a daughter who's now 32 and two grandboys that I love so much. She wants nothing to do with them because of how she had treated me all of my life, but now this has just exacerbated that. I don't know. I felt like I did the right thing, but I don't know if there's anything more I could even do to try to make those relationships.
well, Lisa, let me just say, you did the right thing from the very beginning. When your dad came into your room, you ordered him out of the room. That was the right thing
Yes.
to do, and so many people aren't able to do that, right? But you were, able to do that. You were able to do what so many can't, and so you didn't get abused in that way. But it's so horrific to think, even though he was drunk, okay, he's still responsible, and that he would pull something like that. But then to have him force you to lie about it and to cover for him, that's the manipulation, and those are the mind games and things that I think have hurt you in life, to not be believed when you took that bold move. And it's what so many victims get afraid of. And yet, Lisa, you still did the right thing. You did the right thing, but people don't want to believe the truth, and they will cover it up. And look at what lengths someone will go to because they can't tolerate the truth.
So does she just
Right.
move on, or does she try to restore
She-
something from here?
She has no choice but to just move on and to build her life without them. She was kind of without them anyway, from what she's describing.
Right,
She
right.
was an outsider, and they've made it official now that she's an outsider.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Well,
it's
and
sad. You got to grieve
yeah.
what you've lost, and there's not much you can do about it.
Well, and perhaps, I'm thinking of a final statement would be, I'm sorry that this is what you're choosing to believe, and it
Yeah.
hurts me so deeply.
There
And
you
if you
go.
ever feel inclined to talk about the truth, I'd gladly talk to you.
And I wouldn't be surprised, but that he did it to somebody else in the family, and
Yeah.
because it would be stepdaughters and
Right,
and
right.
that's- and
This is a family system that just wants to close down on itself,
Yeah.
right? Foreclose and not really deal with the truth because it's too painful. I mean, stepmother has had to tell herself a lie all of these years, right?
Yeah. Well,
so make a statement to send a final statement to each family member,
Right.
and express your sadness that they chose not to believe you, but you'll respect their decision, and then
And that your door is open. You know,
Yeah.
even if theirs isn't, your door is open for them.
how about what's the best book we could send to
take your
Lisa?
life back.
Take your life back. Okay.
Yeah, maybe forgiving your fathers and mothers.
Yeah,
Okay.
send them both.
All
that
right.
would be a good one too.
Okay, Lisa, those two will be coming to you. Thank you for calling us.
Thank you for your story.
It's an amazing story.
You are a courageous woman.
Yeah.
And we affirm your truth telling.
Yes.
Yes. We'll take our next call will be right after the break. But before the break, I want to remind people that we're trying to get 6 Club New Life members every day that we're on the air. And we need your help with that. Will you be one of the 6? When you join Club New Life, it's $30 or more. We'll send you all 8 books in the Arterburn Wellness series, Understanding and Loving a Person With. And there's a variety of
We've
those.
never done that before.
No, never.
Usually you get one book. What's the deal, Larry? I told you I want to re-sign up.
Well, I'll deliver the package personally, Joe.
Yeah.
And those books are incredible. Steve was a co-author on each of them. Dave wrote the one on drug and alcohol addiction. There's one on depression, borderline personality disorder. I'm not remembering
ADD.
them all.
The ADD one. I
yeah.
need that one.
And so anyway, that's one thing. The second thing that there's other little benefits that I don't want to take the time to talk about, but the other big benefit I think is the video library that we have created. And I'm telling you, we've in just 5-6 weeks we've done like over 100 videos. Everything from things on addiction issues to anger to grief to shame to trauma, marriage, intimacy, comfort circle. That just goes on and on. We have so many of these great videos.
Well, and Larry, if people have topics they want us
Yeah,
to do,
let us
can they
know.
email us? Can
Sure.
they let us know?
And we'll find
If you
one
don't
of
find
our
what you're looking for,
we'll
let us know.
we'll find a radio host to do that. So anyway,
Well,
That-
you have more than just the radio hosts.
Yeah,
You
we
have
do.
some
Right,
of our
we have some
counselors,
others.
which
we
is
do, and they've done
really
some really
outstanding.
good job. And we have a really good. I'm showing my age, gal, who is.
editor.
We have a woman who is doing all this for us. She's producing and editing them, and she does a great job. So sign up, be one of the 6. It puts us in a situation as the Club New Life grows, where we won't have to or want to come on the air and say we need your help.
We don't want to be desperate.
we want to take time to take phone calls on the air, and we don't want to take time to have to be asking people for money. I said one day several weeks ago when I came in to talk about finances, I was kind of dry on what else to talk about, and I said, you know what, I'm feeling a little resentful. I'm resentful of our audience that you're making me come on the air and ask for money. I shouldn't have to do this. This should be like Solomon building the temple. We should have such an outpouring that we have to say stop. But instead we're on here saying, please give, please give. So call us, 800 New Life. Please give.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Okay, welcome back. We want to go straight back to the phones, and we want to talk to Veronica. She listens in Knoxville, Tennessee, and says referral. So welcome to the show, Veronica. How'd you learn about us?
Hi.
How did you learn about New Life?
Actually, I called another line, and they gave me your phone number.
Oh, good. Okay, well, we're grateful for that. Tell us how we can help you.
So basically, I've gone through quite a bit in the last few years. I went through a divorce, and I went back to college to pursue something else that would bring me a little more stability as far as income. And unfortunately, recently I wasn't able to complete it by just a couple of points. So with that said, I'm having a hard time coming to terms with what happened. Not so much with what happened, because, you know, I understand that life it's not like a straight road. You know, sometimes there's detours, but nonetheless, it's a little difficult for me to understand why I've come to this roadblock. And, you know, I mean, this is a Christian line, so I'm just trying to get a little insight here as to why something like this could possibly happen. I did put my all into it. I'm very smart, you know, capable. So for everything to have happened, it felt to me like, in a weird way, like it was meant to be. Like it's odd. So it feels like it was something that was purposely stopping me from completing what I wanted to do.
Okay, and so you're wondering what would be the purpose in that? I mean,
yes, what would be the purpose in me failing something that I've worked so hard for?
Okay,
I understand many people fail, but I went through a lot just to get where I went. I went through things that I'm not even going to go into prior to being married, then being married, and then a divorce, and then having to provide basically on my own. You know, I have a home to take care of and everything else. So then to go through this, being a 4.0 student, going back in to college once again, and having to literally not complete what I was going to school for at the very last, you know, that very last stage, and it's.
Let me ask you a question.
It's difficult for me to continue to trust in God in this situation.
Why does it have to be over with?
Right.
Is there a reason you can't go take the last class or two and finish it?
There is, yeah. So what I was going for, it's like very competitive, and the way it's set up is you don't really get to kind of go back and do it. It's a long story there, and I'm not going to go into it. But as far as the class itself, I can't go back and redo it. I can't. And I put a lot of years into this, a lot of hard work, and a lot of money I really didn't have. But I was able to come up with that money somehow, and I paid for everything. But nonetheless, I feel a little empty-handed here because I don't have the degree that I went for. And though I'm capable of going to another college and, you know, pursuing another degree, that's not overall what I was going for.
Well,
so it is very hard for me at this point.
Veronica, I hear that you're in the spot of being so disappointed, mad, you know, hurt, and kind of disheartened over being in this position. You know, you yourself said, you know, things don't always work in a straight line, right? And sometimes there are detours. And sometimes there are things that are hard to explain. When you think that God is leading you in a direction, and then there's just such an obvious, just like door slamming in your face, that can be really jarring. And so I think those are times in people's lives. And you know, this happens to lots of people where they're, you know, I've known people to go through an entire program to be top of the class, and then there's a job freeze out and they're not hiring and they age out, or things like that. And so we do know that God doesn't waste anything. Right? And so even though we've got in mind, well, of course God's going to do this, and then when he doesn't, it's like, what's going on here? But we can't imagine to know, completely know the mind of God. And so we have to trust that, okay, we're being redirected for a reason. So how do we grieve the loss and regroup and still maintain our faith and trust in him to redirect us? It's a hard spot.
Let me encourage you with a passage of scripture, but let me explain it to you so that you understand it. James 1:2 says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles come your way, consider it an opportunity for joy." Now, it doesn't mean that you rejoice in the troubles.
Right.
You rejoice in what God is going to do. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow, so let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you'll be perfect and complete, needing nothing. So God has, just as Joe has been saying to you, God has something else in store for you. And the joy is in anticipating what he's got to fill in the gap. He didn't want you to go that direction for some reason. I don't know, because I don't know the direction you were going. But
And along those lines, sometimes why isn't the right question to ask.
Right.
what next?
Yeah, what next? How do I respond? How can this still be honoring to God in how I respond to this?
Gary Smalley had a unique way of using that verse. When troubles came his way, he'd say, "Whoopee, God's going to teach me something new." And that's the attitude that James has got.
So have a spirit of expectancy and not expectations. That'll
Well,
help.
and
not
know that
sadness.
so many successful people fail all the time.
We'll be right back.
We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live. This is Terry McIntosh with a couple of things we want to remind you about. The first is Covenant Eyes, our partner in an internet filter for your computer. It's great to use with your spouse, a friend, or accountability partner, and it provides reports for online activity on tablets, smartphones, and computers. You'll get your first 30 days free when you use the code NLM. Look for the Covenant Eyes link on the newlife.com website to get you started. And if there's a struggle you're facing, a relationship issue, or just a desire to improve your life, we have a nationwide network of licensed Christian counselors that we can connect you to. They've been interviewed and their credentials have been verified, so if we can help you with that, call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Larry, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Terry. I want to go to talk to Catherine from Vancouver, British Columbia, and it says that she listens on the New Life app. And before we ask her question, I want to remind everybody listening that New Life has an app. And if you go to the App Store and look for New Life Ministries, it's got a little tree with the brain in the middle of it. And there's some great things that you can do with the app in addition to listening to the program every day. So, Catherine, how can we help you?
First of all, I want to say that I'm a Club New Life member, and I'm so grateful
Thank you.
for how your ministry has impacted my life in such an amazing way.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. My daughter's best friend turns 21 today and is in the hospital receiving a bone marrow transplant for her cancer for the second time, and has been told that there's a 50% chance of this treatment being successful. And if it's not, there's nothing else they can do for her. She's been through so much, and my daughter has been there for her every step of the way. Unfortunately, neither my daughter or her best friend believe in God. My question is, how can I best support my daughter through this when my daughter does not believe in God and tunes me out when I talk to her about faith issues?
Wow.
Well, I wouldn't pay much attention to her, and I would instead talk about praying for her friend, that God would intercede in some way. And it's like, who knows what God is going to do?
Her to pray? You mean asking her to pray, or just
telling her that
just
you're
telling
praying.
you're going to pray, that you're praying for her, and just bearing a quiet witness to the fact that you're trusting God for what's going to happen. Because God is unpredictable. You never know what he might do.
Well, and what hope does your daughter have?
Well, you mean for her friend?
Right. In this situation, what is the hope she is offering?
Well, it's amazing. I have I posted the comfort circle on my fridge one day, and her daughter came over and was reading it. I mean, her friend, her girlfriend came over, and was reading it. And she goes, that's really something. I'm not allowed to talk about my feelings in my house.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh.
And my daughter said to her, well, you have a friend in me. And whenever you need to talk about anything, you can call me day or night. And, and her daughter was, I keep saying her daughter, her girlfriend was also an employee for us. Her parents were struggling financially, and we hired her to work as a medical office assistant. My husband's a doctor. And she was so good, but she was under so much stress because her family was depending on her paycheck.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my gosh.
And not only that, my daughter invited her over for dinner a couple of times because her friend was telling her she was tired of eating rice and beans. Can you believe this? And now she's in the hospital, and her parents are really controlling who she sees and who she talks to. I did send her a message telling her that I was, praying for her, and I wished her all the best for her birthday,
good.
even though she says she doesn't believe in God. I did anyway. That's really all I can do. I can't go over there because her parents might take offense to me being there. I don't know. Melissa was going to go over there today,
Catherine, though,
to celebrate her birthday.
I wonder, her parents might take offense to your presence? I mean, what if instead of coming with, Bible in hand and all geared up to talk, what if you just came, like visited her at the hospital or wherever she was and just asked her how she was doing?
Just show up.
Just kind of demonstrate who Jesus is instead of talking about it and feeling like you have to use all the words. But just showing
that's a good
up
point.
and just allowing her to feel something different about your presence there.
And that will speak to your daughter.
Yeah, that you're not coming in, Bible thumping. You're just there, and you can be quietly praying and just being there to be of service to her.
And
comfort.
I do want to mention one thing that happened in the past about, a year or so ago. Her girlfriend's mother called me and told me about her financial situation, that she was in distress and she was worried that they were going to repossess her car. And I found out that she had a GoFundMe website and she wanted a donation, and I didn't quite know how to handle that. I did end up giving the family $200, but then I thought, well, this is not the best way to handle the situation. I thought, I called her up and offered to help her find a job because she's never worked a day in her life. And there was things that she could do that I did when we were first married. And her husband called me and told me off that I should just mind my own business, and they didn't need my help, and they don't take donations. And so my daughter is a little bit nervous about me getting involved, but I would hate for something to happen to this beautiful young girl and know that I had never said anything or you know what I'm trying to say, that
if you be the hands and feet of Jesus, she'll recognize that, and God might open a door you never expect.
Right, especially if you just go and you don't have an agenda.
Right.
Let her set the agenda.
Yeah, you just go and you show up, and if the worst does start to happen, you may have some moments towards the end where
you'll minister to your daughter's friend, and you'll say a lot to your daughter in supporting her. She won't worry about mom's going to go off the deep end, or mom's going to say this, or mom's going to want everybody to hold hands and sing a prayer.
Right. No, I just want to be there. I just
yeah,
want to
just be
be a
there.
friend and a comfort.
Right.
What do you think I should do? My daughter was going to go over there today to celebrate her birthday. She had a gift and she had organized a few friends to come over, but the mother texted my daughter saying that it's not a good day for her to visit. Should I call the hospital and ask them?
I would encourage your daughter to just go.
But,
Really?
but the
if
mother,
it's not a good day,
it's not a good day and she's at the hospital.
Or ask if we can come tomorrow.
You know what? Yeah, if the mother's already saying don't come, maybe go and leave something there at the hospital that they could bring up to the girl.
Okay.
Right, balloons, but you have to make sure it's stuff that they can have on the unit because sometimes things get rejected. But, a little gift, a card, go and leave it and have the nurses take it to her.
Have you ever thought about inviting the mother over and just supporting her and asking her about the pain she must feel and how hard it is and just letting her open up and talk? And maybe that would be an opening.
I don't think the husband would let her.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, that's
But
what I'm worried about. But I haven't done that because I've been afraid of being rejected or told
Well,
that.
We're making things worse
stay
for
away.
her.
But it's just a simple invitation.
Well, right, or
Right.
you're going through a hard time. I can't imagine if it were my daughter. If you want to
Yeah.
talk, I'm available. I'm happy to be a friend to you.
Just be a listening ear.
I could text her that. Do you
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
that would
that
be
would be
okay
good.
to
Yeah.
text
Yeah.
her that?
Yeah, it'd just be really supportive and kind,
And
and empathizing with the difficult position she's in. I mean,
And-
there's all these things, control that's going on behind the scenes, but you almost just ignore that and just be kind and affirming.
And don't, if she accepts it and you get together, don't be the one to instigate bringing up God and prayer, and let the opportunity come.
Connect first.
Yeah,
Right.
but connect and just be a friend. And then if you'll know when the right time is, God will nudge you when it's the right time. So,
Right.
want to thank you so much, Catherine. That's a difficult situation, and I'm sure that something will happen that you'll be able to be a good friend to,
Right.
and your daughter will too. And I just pray for you and your daughter's relationship, and that somehow something you say and you do will help her. So thank you. We'll come back. We're going to take another call. Give us a call at 800 New Life if you can be one of the 6 Club New Life members, or if there's another gift you could make today, that would be great. So we'll be back right after this.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Okay, welcome back. I just want to remind you that our featured resource this month is it's Dr. Dave Stoop's book. He and Steve Arterburn co-authored the book, Understanding and Loving a Person with Alcohol or Drug Addiction. So that's our featured product. If you want to get a copy of that, call and order that at our call center, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or you could go online and get that book. So we're going to go on the phones, and we're going to talk to Terry in Columbus, Ohio. Listens on Sirius XM. Hello, Terry.
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
We can. How
Good,
can we
thank
help you?
Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Well, I'm becoming increasingly isolated. I don't like to leave my house. I only go to the grocery store and gas station and home. I live way out in the country, so I don't have, a lot of people around, and I don't have a lot of friends in this area because I kind of recently moved here due to my circumstances, and
So do you live alone?
I live alone. Yes, I live alone. I'm 58 years old, and my husband died 3 years ago. And he died very shortly after we moved here. And now I feel very stuck. I feel like there's nothing left. That's it. I have nothing left. That's how I feel. and I don't, I just increasingly isolate. I don't even go see my family. I lost my mother last summer, and I didn't even cry. It was just, okay, well, now she's gone, and that's where I am, and I don't really know what to expect.
Yeah, Terry, it sounds like you're shutting down and withdrawing because, the losses have been so great and that you're depressed.
They have been. Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
So you need to... Go ahead.
Sorry, my doctor put me on an antidepressant,
Good.
and that gets me out of bed,
Mm-hmm.
but that's about all it does.
Right.
So, I really don't... I don't know how to deal with this because I used to be so social, and I was so active, and I had so many friends, and I've lost almost all of them because I've shut them all out.
Right.
So I'm just calling
It's like you've ended your life with your husband's life.
Correct. Yes.
Right.
Yes. That's what it feels like. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so it's hard to see life beyond that. An antidepressant is good, but it's not the miracle cure. You're right. It'll get you out of bed and hopefully get you to do something that then will help you. So your doctors, made a right choice there, but I'm wondering why they didn't encourage you to even maybe go to therapy or a grief group or prescribe something like that.
Well, they encouraged therapy, and I was able to do that until my insurance cut out all mental health care.
Okay.
And so then I couldn't pay for the therapy anymore.
Okay.
But I was going twice a week.
Good.
During the hardest times, I was going twice a week, and it was just really great to have someone to tell how I was feeling and stuff. But then that ended because the insurance dropped.
Okay. And
then,
what church are you going to?
Oh, it's so sad. Our church closed in February.
Are you kidding me?
Sounds
Oh
like
my gosh.
Sounds like he or...
Our church closed in February. I was a deacon in the church, and
so there's another loss for you.
Yeah, we got so small we couldn't sustain anymore, so we don't exist anymore.
Okay. So where is everybody else going to church now?
Different places.
Okay.
I think people have just dispersed, and I'm on church council, and I'm trying to attend all the meetings and things that, to control the finances and things that happen around a church closing. And, but it's so sad. It's so
sad. Yeah. Well, and to have maybe people from that church to be able to process this together and grieve together, I think would be really helpful. But Terry, for yourself, you're going to have to do some things that you don't feel like doing. Because if you base everything on your feelings, you won't do it. Right? And even if you don't see a purpose in it, you're still going to need to do it, which means you need to leave your house every single day. There has to be a reason that you leave your house every single day, even if it's, okay, you go to the gas station. You have to have some kind of contact with another human being every single day. Because that's important. Because the more you isolate, the more distorted your thinking will get, and the more you will find reasons not to connect with people. And
I think I'm there. I think I'm actually there because even the thought of that causes me dread.
Okay, but you know what? I've known people who've lost a spouse, and they go 20 years and don't realize that they've completely shut themselves off from life. And so you don't want to, it's been 3 years. You don't want to go, 3 more years even and be completely cut off. It's not the life you had hoped for, but God still has you here, right? So you've got to make a life out of what you can.
I would not have made it without my faith. I would never have gotten through this. And so I have a very deep and abiding relationship with Christ. And it actually saved my life because I was suicidal for months.
Dave has a thought.
Well, you gotta put hands and feet to Jesus Christ by connecting with other people, even if it's just the guy at the gas station or find
Yeah.
or somebody at the diner that you get to know and you talk to on a regular basis. Somehow, what Jill is saying is to get out of the house every day is an ordeal. It's against what you really want to do, but it's going to
But
pay
it's
off
a
in the
minimal
long run.
requirement,
Yeah.
right? And then you build
Okay.
from there. You've got to
And-
find a new church, and you've just got to keep showing up.
I
And
think
get
you're
into
right.
a grief group.
I think your idea, Jill, of calling a group together, have a home meeting somewhere where you
Right.
process the church closing.
Yeah, the loss that
and
people feel.
And from that could grow a community and another group meeting about
Yeah.
something else. Study a book of the Bible or do something.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in the scripture every single day.
No, but that's
But
not the
not
point.
alone.
You
Not
gotta do it
alone.
with
That's not the
people.
point. The point is being in
We
community.
get you and God are tight, but now we need to get you tight with other people, right? That's
Okay.
the next step. You need
Needs to
other
be you,
people.
God, and others.
Yes.
Yeah. And you could help
Okay.
others. You have been in the Bible every day. Others may not. Maybe you're the one that could help somebody else in their studies. So it's
Which
not all
will-
about
Yeah.
you.
Which will then help you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's possible. I just feel it almost makes me shrivel up inside thinking about that, though. To
Well,
go
Yeah,
out
but
and-
you do it
But,
for a
you know,
couple of weeks
But
and
your
it'll
race
become natural.
isn't over. Remember, Paul says we need to run the race, right? We
Right.
need to get back into life and finish well. You're not done yet.
yeah. Terry, thank you. Thank you for your call. Jill, do you have time for a closing thought, if not the scripture?
Well, yeah, I didn't quite find the scripture
Okay.
I was looking for,
Yeah,
but
talk
I
about it.
had been reading recently this week about Eli and Samuel, and how I just wanted to encourage parents for a minute that a lot of times we feel like we don't make an impact on our own children, and how Eli was the priest that Hannah took Samuel to, and how Eli made such a huge impact in Samuel's life, and God raised Samuel up, and he did wonderful things for the Lord. And yet Eli's own children rebelled, and they did not do right in the sight of the Lord, right? And how difficult that is, and how we have to trust that God will bring up the right people to touch people in our lives.
And,
So and to remember that.
in
And we're not to
spite
go
of-
soft on our
and
kids,
all our
but
dysfunctions happened
yeah.
a long time ago.
yeah.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.